3 seconds till recognizing. 2 seconds till recognizing. 1 second till recognizing.
Dear Shandy. Welcome back to another Dear Shandy Love is Blind recap, listeners. Hello, Andy.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm doing okay. Just, I had an incident outside.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I did.
Do you want to tell the I mean, I know about the incident, but I didn't know you wanted to share it. But I actually think the Shandys will enjoy this story.
I mean, I had to go run an errand right around the corner.
And we were already set up for the podcast.
Yeah. And I didn't have my keys or my phone. So I come back.
It already sounds like a recipe for disaster.
It's going to get
worse. In retrospect.
Yeah, so I come back and I try to get in the door and we have one of those face recognition screens. So, and the sun is shining and I'm putting my face in it. And when the sun's shining, it has a hard time recognizing my face. So I'm just like, oh, come on. Like I'm trying to, I'm putting my face back.
I got to tell you, I hate that. I like having a key and just opening the door. I don't need my face to be recognized to let me in.
I agree. It sounds old fogey, but technology has a time and a place.
Yes.
And it's not that. I just want to use a key. A key has been around for literally 5,000 years.
Yes. Especially,
someone will correct me on that.
Well, this story actually highlights it perfectly.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there. I'm like, oh, here we go again. Like, how long is it going to take? I'm like, back, forward. I'm smiling. I'm frowning. I'm like opening my eyes wide. And then I see in the distance, down the street, coming towards me, I see a guy I know and I haven't seen in many years. And he's one of those guys, top 10 people you don't want to run into in the street, but you know what it's going to be. It's going to be like, you can't just walk away. You can't be like, oh, hey, good to see you. Yeah, that's not on the table. Not a bad guy.
No.
Just the last thing you want to run into, especially when you're just not in the mood. So I see this and I'm like, oh, okay, this has gotten real. So I'm like, come on, let's go. And it's not recognizing my face and he's getting closer. And it's getting that inflection point where he's going to recognize me. Finally, just when it's that last split second, it recognizes me, the door buzzes and I run in. And I'm telling you, it was like my Indiana Jones moment. That was it. It was like a full Indiana Jones / horror movie. Mm-hmm. I just made it.
I mean, I think that's really relatable. It's also a real example of how technology is not your friend sometimes.
No, sometimes it is not.
Yeah. Okay, so the reason we're here today, as great as your stories are, Andy, is we are recapping Love is Blind. Today we're recapping Seattle Part 1, which is episodes 6 through 8.
That's a good amount. It's a good chunk.
It is a good chunk. And we're gauging out the rest of the season, like how many we're going to recap. And we've decided that the recap after this will be 9 through 11, and then we'll do the finale after that. So there'll be 2 more recaps after this one, give or take. It's just us feeling it out. Because some people wanted us to like binge the rest of the season and recap the live finale or whatever. Like, I mean, we have day jobs. I feel like we have to remind people of that.
Yeah. And also I feel like, sometimes, okay, like Succession, for example. We like Succession.
Yeah,
and then we had to wait a whole, like a year to see this season? Mm-hmm. There's something about being forced to wait. To get things in portions.
Yeah.
It's like when you sit down to a giant feast, you don't just stuff your face so much you're sick within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's nice to course a meal out.
Yeah.
And I believe strongly that binging is not a good way to live.
I actually like waiting for a week in between episodes.
You don't think you like it.
I don't think I do.
But you do like it.
Yeah.
Your mind tells you it's wrong,
yeah.
but then your whole body and mind enjoy it.
Anyway, I guess this is our way of saying we're doing things our way,
mm-hmm.
the Shandy way. And yeah, you're going to have to wait for your recaps. We'll probably lose some people, but
like 9 views on our next recap. They're like, no, we don't have to wait for your recap.
Okay, so we pick up with episode 6 with the couples moving out of their rooms in Mexico. They're moving into Seattle. We see our elusive hosts, Nick and Vanessa.
Easiest job in the world. The best job. Can we apply for that job?
Oh my God.
You think we could get this?
Seriously, what do they do?
They don't do anything.
Nothing.
They could just have a narrator, like a voiceover.
They would save a lot of money, actually.
Yeah, and you're not feeling like I'm not getting the star value. Like I understand that, Nick Lachey is a star, I guess.
Yeah, I think she
is. Is his name
too.
Nick Lachey?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Wow, I feel so cool. I got it on the first try. But he's a celebrity, and the reason they're paying him is because he's a celebrity. It's not like they're just going to get some random guy who's good at like narrating things. Mm-hmm. They get him was just Nick Lachey, and who was his wife?
Vanessa.
Okay, whatever. So the point is that if you're gonna pay the guy to be the celebrity, you at least have to get the celebrity value.
Yeah.
Like I don't remember that Nick Lachey is the guy who hosts the show.
So it says a lot that just now you had to say, what's his wife's name? The fact that you still don't know their names and we're on episode 6.
Yeah.
That really, enough said.
They're not getting their value.
No.
This is a bad value.
Yeah, the Lachey's are making out like bandits.
Yeah.
Okay, so the couples move into their apartments in Seattle. We see lots of gorgeous shots of Seattle. We love Seattle.
A friend of the show.
The city?
The city is a friend of the show, yeah.
Actually, I have an opera in Seattle coming up in September,
Yeah.
October. We'll be there for like 6 weeks. We're
And you
very
had
excited.
one in December last year.
Yeah, anyway. I love Seattle and Seattle Opera.
Great town.
We pick up now with Bliss and Zach. So they were at that lunch. And he says the trip was horrible. He says that Bliss, in fact, was the girl he was looking for. She says that's annoying to hear. She gives him a hard time, but ultimately it's pretty clear that she's into him.
A little bit. She wouldn't be there, I guess.
I gotta say,
Yeah.
it's insane. And this happens even more later when he has her over. But in this moment, when they start just sort of riffing and having banter, as they say, Zach, he's like a different person.
Different person.
And it's exactly what you said, actually, in the last recap. You're like, maybe Zach comes off weird because he's in the person who he's working with, like, makes him feel weird. You sort of start to become that.
Yeah. If I was like recapping with Jeffrey Dahmer, these recaps would be a lot different.
Jeffrey Dahmer, but wasn't he really charismatic and charming?
I don't think so.
Really? Am I confusing him with a different
You're thinking of
serial
Ted
killer?
Bundy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of Ted Bundy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have my serial killers like
Yeah. You got to
straight, if I'm
bone up
honest.
on your serial killers. No pun intended.
Generally a sort of hopeful feel in the air.
Sure.
And now we hear a song literally called Catching Feels.
Written on the spot.
I gotta say, the names of the song, everything.
Whatever.
Is it just the
it's-
names of the
it's-
songs?
It's good for them.
Good for them.
I don't know what to say anymore.
Yeah, some people sort of get offended when we make fun of the music.
Huh.
I don't know how you could.
That
I mean,
means
the
that-
music's obviously bad.
I think that means that they're offended by music. But this is not music.
No,
It
it's
doesn't technically it's music, but you could also say traffic is music.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
hey, fuck off. Like that's music too, technically.
So Kwame and Chelsea, they're celebrating their first takeout meal together. She says it feels like home because she's with him. They discuss cleanliness. She wants to get the dishes in the dishwasher before end of day.
100% right. I'll tell you,
90
Chelsea, when it comes to like cleanliness and general behavior in the household, 100%.
On the whole, this feels harmonious, but I gotta say, there's always tension with these two. I'm never comfortable watching the two of them, even when it's supposed to be like nice time.
Agreed.
Micah and Paul, she tells him Irina told her she was attracted to him. And he confirms there was one moment where Irina was a little handsy. And he didn't think much of it at the time. Mike, okay, I have such mixed feelings about this because I do think that this was out of line for Irina to do.
Yeah.
But I also get the impression that Micah is the type of person to really pounce on something like this. And she says it put doubt in her own mind about him. She's very happy to play victim if she can. I don't actually think she's remotely threatened by Irina
No.
at all.
No.
And Tiffany and Brett now, we learn about the one point of contention in their relationship is the fact that he gets out of the shower and leaves water on the floor. I mean, that's super relatable.
I gotta say,
Am I that person?
you're the person.
I mean, you do other things.
You don't respect water enough, I think. You
Yeah,
really
I tend
have
to
a-
be like, it's just water.
Yeah, water is the bane of existence of modern society. So you got to respect it a little more.
I mean, when it's on tiles, I'm like, it's just water.
It's what instantly. You know what's in water? Like water looks like clear and delightful and crystal when you look at it. But if you go microscopic, a drop of tap water is like a zoo. And I know this.
Okay.
But if you let it sit there, what's going to happen? That zoo is going to multiply, and then it becomes a brown stain, and that brown stain eventually calcifies, and then you can't get rid of it.
Okay. So the two of them are just generally cute. They're all loving on each other. We'll move on. It says now, Andy, this is the first time it says this, 20 days until weddings. You got a big kick out of this. Do you want to explain why this is so funny to you?
Do I need to?
I mean,
Okay, imagine 20 days until weddings in any situation other than a situation where two people have known each other for like years and they're getting married. Imagine in any other situation how ridiculous that is.
It's true. They're like trying to sort out fundamental differences.
You know what it's like? It's like, you know, those like big disaster movies where it's so cheesy they have to tell you how many days it is till impact of the meteor.
Yeah.
It's like they have a scene where they're talking about something and then they cut and it's like 20 days till impact.
Yeah.
And then 15 days till impact.
You need the urgency. The urgency is what gives you that, it's just like you. If the thing just didn't recognize your face at the front door, you'd be like, oh, that's annoying.
Yeah.
But the guy coming towards you gave it urgency and it got your heart rate up and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. 3 seconds till recognizing. 2 seconds till recognizing. 1 second till recognizing.
Okay, so Paul
exciting.
and Micah now, we learn that they got their physical connection, quote, on the same level as their emotional connection. They're playing footsie on the deck and all lovey-dovey with each other. Truly, I honestly think this is the only scene I've ever seen of the two of them where I'm like, oh,
Yeah, it's cute.
they're cute. They're not bad. Okay, so now Kwame and Chelsea, she shows him.
Sorry.
Oh, that one sounded like it felt good.
Oh, it's nice. I mean,
They always come in pairs.
people don't talk about how good sneezing is.
Okay.
And you don't appreciate, like you muffle your sneezes.
Don't you have another one? Stop talking. There's another one coming.
It's done. One and done.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they always come in pairs with you.
No, that was it.
It's allergy season. Okay, she shows him her apartment. Apparently, it's all pink. And Kwame's like, even the wine is pink. He asks, what's with all the pink? And then she says that her ex was really controlling about how they styled their apartment. So this is sort of her rah-rah moment. You know, she's decorating it how she wants. And in her confessional, she cries, saying that she hasn't had anyone to come home to. She FaceTimes her friends every night while eating dinner, but now she has Kwame. Oh, really? Does that deserve an oh? I think
No, I was just distracted because I was thinking, did you wear your pink dress in honor of Chelsea?
no, definitely not.
Oh.
And it's also cute that you think this is a dress.
It's a jumpsuit?
Yeah.
Oh,
My
a
legs are
jumper.
crossed. Look, legs split.
Oh, I see.
Covered.
I get it now. I'm learning.
Okay.
It's, by the way, an absolutely magnificent jumpsuit.
Good job. I have a slight issue with this. I feel like Chelsea comes off to me as someone who feels like she needs someone else to be whole.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that you have to like love being single, but you have to be sort of content with it, with just with having some aloneness, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I find this, it's like I found my happy ending. I have Kwame now.
Well, there's sort of like a anxiety-ridden neediness, I feel.
Oh, and that does not change over these 3
no,
episodes.
there's just like this, it's not, and I'm not saying that we all have needs. We all want to be with someone. We all want love. We all want companionship. I get it. I'm not faulting her for that. It's the way she goes about it. It's very,
High strung.
yeah, like I personally, I don't know if I could take that for 10 minutes. I don't think like Chelsea, like even if I was like head over heels immediately within a couple of days, I'd be like, I can't do this.
But this to me is just that tip of the iceberg. We saw a bit of it before, but I actually thought she was way more easygoing, like with the stuff with Micah in Mexico. I was like, oh, she's too forgiving. She was too quick to forgive him. But we start to see her cracks showing, I think, over these 3 episodes. But we'll keep going for now. Tiffany and Brett meet Tiffany's friends. Brett obviously passes the interrogation with flying colors because he's Brett. He's Brett.
Brett is the Michael Jordan of this show.
He's unbeatable.
He's GOAT.
Yeah,
Like
he is
no one
GOAT.
touches Brett.
Totally. And I mean, that's saying a lot too, because some of the men are extremely likable.
Okay, Marshall is Scottie Pippen to his Michael Jordan, but he is Jordan.
Brett describes seeing Tiffany for the first time. It was like tunnel vision. He couldn't even remember the color of the carpet. And they get teary here, and it culminates with him saying he loves her. They kiss, and then it's so sweet. After they part, he mouths, I love you to her when their faces are close and their friends are all around, and it's somehow not vomity. It's just like,
Can I tell you, I've watched many seasons of Love since we started recapping these shows.
Yeah.
And I don't know why the shows is in quotes. That was unnecessary. But I have never seen what I believe to be as true a love as I see between these two. In all of the shows, everything.
wow. I love how every kiss they share, it's never like a cursory peck. Like to me, when I think of cursory peck, I think of Chelsea and Kwame.
Yeah.
It's like, love you, babe.
Yeah, babe. Babe. No.
But with Tiffany and Brett, it's almost like even what's supposed to be a peck, they both get sort of lost in, and they end up lingering and
agree.
going back for
I
more.
agree.
It's really cute.
Oh, by the way, speaking of Babe, I have a bone to pick.
Oh.
Someone said in the comments that it was generational.
They pulled the age card.
No. And I'll tell you something. You want to talk about generation? The reason I don't like Babe is because my first girlfriend in a year that I do not want to discuss called me Babe. Did not like it. Never have liked it since. Not generational.
Maybe it's cultural. Because some people really agreed with you, and then of course some people were like, "I don't see any problem with Babe."
Yeah, well, I'm speaking scientific. It's scientifically wrong. Commit to Babe E. 2 syllables.
Okay. No, last week you said it's just your opinion. People can do whatever they want.
No, I've moved on. It's fact.
Okay. So now Zach and Paul, they're having drinks together at a bar somewhere. We learned that Micah needs a lot of affirmation, and this is something Paul struggles with. And Zach says everyone wants to feel appreciated. He says, quote, "Nobody gets tired of hearing that you love them."
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you don't like the person saying it. Then it gets a little tiresome.
Oh, then it makes your skin crawl.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a big caveat. Okay, so now Micah and Irina. I've actually been to this restaurant a few times.
Oh, yeah?
It's a Mexican restaurant.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, with this outdoor space and these like fire pits.
Oh.
I felt like, I was like, ooh.
You're famous.
Okay, so Micah confronts Irina about the Paul stuff. She felt that Irina was going behind her back, which I think is true.
Yeah.
It was kind of odd.
Yeah.
It's almost like Irina didn't give a crap
Yeah.
who she offended. I feel mixed on this because I'll put it this way. I've been out with friends who have like openly flirted with you.
Yeah.
And I trust you. And I trust them, and I just like, I find it amusing. You know, it's like everyone's having a few drinks and maybe they're like, they're laughing a little harder than they should at your jokes and maybe touching your arm a bit. And I'm like, okay.
Honestly, when my friends, and I think my friends have also flirted with you probably, or not as much.
I'm hard to flirt with.
You are. You're ice queen.
But even, only if I'm really into someone and it's hard.
That's true.
Yeah.
But I've seen my friends kind of make an effort sometimes to maybe flirt, and I feel good about it. I'm like, oh, that's nice. They're getting along. That means that they're getting along on a level that's even higher than just, regular like small talk.
Oh, okay.
Makes me happy.
Yeah, I can't think of one friend of yours that I've ever graduated to flirting with.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Yeah, my friends.
There's one or two bachelor guys who are both of our friends who I think fall into that category.
Yeah.
It's like got a slightly flirty undertone to it, but it's really barely there.
Well, I mean, Nick was flirting with you to the point where he was like trying to like bed you when we were first dating, and
that doesn't really count.
I was enjoying that. Though.
That was so early on.
Nick, I love you.
A million years ago. Yeah. So imagine if we can use that example. Imagine if you were like, I can't believe that makes me lose trust in you, Sharleen, and it makes me blah, blah, blah. Like if you made something more out of that than needed to be made. I guess what I'm saying is I'm not really picking a side because I think they're both wrong.
Yeah.
But I think anyone who wants to completely vilify Irina, like only, I don't really agree with that. I think Micah likes playing victim. I think she likes talking shit. I think that she always sort of wants to be in the driver's seat and have a leg up on other people.
But she also blew her up on TV. Like, I felt like that was a setup.
What do you mean?
Like, she set her up. She was like, oh, let's go have this lunch. It was all just a narrative to try to show how Irina's a piece of shit.
And even then, Irina, I think a lot of Irina's behavior stems from deep insecurity.
Yeah.
And so I guess I have a bit more of a heart for her. Like, I think Irina's really complicated. And yes, she's shown a lot of terrible, terrible behavior. I don't want to sound like I'm defending her. But even when Irina was like, oh, I don't think Paul would ever go for me anyway.
Yeah.
And Micah was like, no, he wouldn't.
Yeah, thanks.
Like, she like really just sort of like drove it home a little too far, in my opinion. It's like, yeah, like she all but said he's repulsed by you. He would never, if you were the last woman on earth. Like, that's what the tone of what she was saying.
Generally, my opinion is when you're self-deprecating, people should allow that to happen. At best, not comment.
Mm-hmm.
At most, say, oh, no, that's not true.
Yeah. And I mean, they're both wrong. I guess that's what I'm
Yeah, but Irina
at
at least has sort of talked about why she is the way she is. At least she's kind of thought about it.
I agree. That goes a really long way with us.
Yeah.
And so maybe we're a little biased to the fact that even in that first episode, we heard Irina talk about her own insecurities. And in little subtle ways, she's shown them.
Yeah.
While Micah's just like, I just can't stand people who are so quick to play victim at every turn. She's like, I was there for you. I was your lifeline.
Always victim.
Yeah.
If it was Mortal Kombat between Micah and Arena, and the more terrible one like finishes the other one. The one thing, like that list, I never pay attention to it, because I always just like that guy who's like has that horrible face and the huge guy. I always go for big. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I always assume the bigger person's
in Mario
gonna
Kart,
win.
you go for Donkey Kong.
I go for Donkey Kong, and in Mortal Kombat, I go for who's that giant?
I don't know. He was the big teeth.
Anyway, the point is,
you just try to scare your opponent.
Yeah, the power that Arena has that gives her that slight edge over Micah.
Yeah.
Which actually, I guess in my game would mean that she would lose. But anyway, is self-reflection. That's a 10. She has self-reflection 10, and Micah has 0.
Oh.
That's the winning. That's the key factor.
And I mean, to say she has self-reflection, she has like a pea-sized amount.
Oh, I gave her a 10. I was okay. She's like a 3, and Micah has a 0.
I think she's got 1.
Okay.
But that might be enough. Enough to beat her opponent. Okay.
Finish her with self-reflection.
A pea.
Yeah.
So, Andy, do you remember what I said when this morning you asked me how I slept last night?
You said, quote, you slept like a log. Or actually, you said I slept like a log, if I'm quoting.
And you know what I have Care of to thank for that? Their sleep supplement is magic.
And I can attest as well. I have used that, and I slept like a baby.
Mm-hmm. It's a blend of melatonin, ashwagandha, valerian, and passion flower extract. And let me tell you, I'm a seasoned veteran when it comes to sleep supplements.
You don't sleep well.
Yeah, and I try to avoid taking the hard stuff. And this really, what this...
Maybe you got too much sleep.
It honestly represents Care of to me. Like, their stuff is just, this is a very unassuming package. They're not making any huge claims or anything. They're just like, all it says is sleep.
Yeah.
And that really sums up Care of and all their products. From their multivitamins, which are personalized, by the way. You fill out their online questionnaire saying how you've been feeling lately, how you want to feel. And then they give you these personalized vitamins in these cute little compostable packets.
Cute.
So cute. I love it with your name on it.
Yeah.
Not that matters, but it's always nice. And it's just, everything is just like so streamlined, so minimalistic, and just does what it says it will do. Nothing more, nothing less. Just stop it with the false claims.
And it says something that when we run out of Care of, we buy it with our own money.
Yes. Oh, this sleep stuff, we ordered ourselves. This was not the free stuff we got in the beginning.
And I just got another tub of protein powder.
Yep.
And I'll tell you something, I wouldn't have done, I'm doing this protein powder thing because I like Care of that much. I wouldn't have done it otherwise. And I'm telling you, I think I'm bigger. So for 50% off your first Care of order, go to takecareof.com and enter promo code Shandy50.
Again, that's 50% off your first Care of order by going to takecareof.com and using promo code Shandy50. Well, Andy, you know what's coming out very soon. Very soon. Like any day now soon.
Yeah.
Is dearshandy.com.
Dun, dun, dun.
And you know what has helped me get dearshandy.com to this point.
Helped you or basically hand-fed you?
Yeah. Hand-fed me is Squarespace, obviously. You guys have heard us talk about Squarespace, but let me tell you, every time I work on a website, like actively for a couple of hours, I fall in love with Squarespace even more. I know that sounds a little far-fetched, but it's actually true, because I was struggling with this one thing. I don't know how much detail I should go into, but so this is true. I was struggling to get a scrolling gallery where you could get both the title and description shown. It's very specific. And I then opened a help chat. My queue that I would wait was never more than 1. You know how sometimes when you join a chat or you call a line, it's like, oh, you are 43rd in line. Oh, yeah, and you end up waiting for half an hour or something.
Or it's like an AI chat. Like, I really need that. Like, I don't know how to Google.
Oh, that's the worst. So not only was there only one person ahead of me, so I waited like 20 seconds. Then I was speaking with a real live human being who then reviewed my question and was like, okay, let's talk about this. I described it to them and they were like, oh, well, I see that you're trying this. They would go into my website. They would say, okay, so this is the page you're talking about. Show me. And then I would say, oh, this. And they were like, oh, actually, I think that this function would work better for you.
I don't believe it. You're making this up. No matter how shiny and flashy and beautiful something is, if I don't have that support of customer service, I don't want to do it.
Totally. And let me tell you, every time I work on a website, I'm like, wow, the features. It just keeps getting better and better because I've been on Squarespace for many years now. And every time I'm like, oh, I'm a kid in a candy store. Let's say you need to have a calendar, you want to be booked, or let's say you want to sell tickets to an event. You could do the e-commerce, you can do the scheduling. Let's say you want to have a blog, a mailing list. It's honestly endless, all the things you can do.
And I got to give you credit. The website looks very sharp.
Oh, I and Squarespace both thank you.
So head to squarespace.com/Shandy for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use offer code Shandy for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
Again, that's squarespace.com/Shandy for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use offer code Shandy to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. So now we're back to Marshall and Jackie. It's the morning. He's making her not only pancakes, but berry compote.
I mean, this guy.
Because he's perfect.
Yeah, we all need more Marshall in our lives.
I was a little distracted by the table syrup. Shandy's knew I was going to mention
Can't
this.
win them all.
No. We both noticed it was a little, I don't know, it's a subtle etiquette thing, but he brings her the plate of food and then goes back to prepare his own plate, and she starts digging in like she didn't wait for him.
Yeah, that was a little rude.
I don't know.
I don't think you should gloss over it. It's in character for Jackie. I think Jackie is very into Jackie. She's into her own experience.
I don't want to be too judgy because I'm thinking like when you and I are having dinner, and let's say I'm cooking it and I bring it to you, I would never think twice about you starting to eat it. But now that I think about it, you always wait.
No, I wait. And also, they're new.
Yeah.
I've been with you for almost 10 years. This is new.
Yeah. No, it's true.
Wait, just wait like 5 seconds. The guy made you a gourmet breakfast for no reason.
Jackie in her confessional says that she's never experienced this before, this kind of love. And now we get back to Kwame and Chelsea. You ready to be tense again?
Oh, there's a lot of
I say that as if you're not tense watching Marshall and Jackie.
Yeah. Yeah, that's relaxing.
So Kwame and Chelsea, they're discussing meeting her parents, and it's very tense. So she's like, do you know my dad's name? And the tone is a little accusatory, in my opinion. And he says he doesn't. And she says, well, it's Charlie. And he casually says, that's my dad's name too.
Unbelievable. Double standard is there has to be another word.
She got caught not knowing his dad's name, and she was just like silent.
And also Kwame, like, I don't know why suddenly this terrible guy. We were all told that, oh, you're going to be very upset about Kwame. I'm like, show me the money.
I know.
He had 1 hour, one drunken hour of being sloppy and inappropriate, and that's it. What else is bad about Kwame so far?
I can't, it's so interesting. I wonder if some people watched these 3 episodes, 6 through 8, and saw it the other way around and saw Kwame as the bad guy.
Chelsea the good guy?
I don't know how that's possible.
Just because she wants him to be with her, that's the thing? That's her superpower?
Yeah, but she also wants him to be with her on her terms in the city in which she lives. She wants to have kids on this timeline. It's like he's just a guy.
Can I tell you something? The amount of willpower and moral fiber it took for Kwame not to be like, do you know who my father is? It amazed me.
Yeah.
I would have dropped a hammer.
I wrote, this is not Chelsea's finest moment. She's very anxious, obviously, about Kwame meeting her dad, which we later on learn, I almost feel like that's a microcosm of Chelsea.
Yeah.
Is this scene, I'll go into it in a second, but she picks a fight with Kwame based on her own anxiety about her dad disapproving of him or of the process or of something. Mm-hmm. And then we meet her dad and he's like, yeah, he's great. I approve. Like, congratulations.
Totally fine.
It's like she's spiraled into this other place. And we see this sort of monster come over her, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Here, as she's sort of like being very uptight and stressed, he says, the more calm we are, the more calm he'll be. He's just trying to talk her off the ledge. He's trying to calm her down. And she passive-aggressively says, I love a good Kwame lecture.
Oh
my God.
That's like grade A prime. That's like Kobe beef passive aggression.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Kobe, excuse me. Not Kobe Bryant. Kobe beef.
Also, how was this a lecture?
Yeah.
A lecture?
It's not a lecture. There was no lecture. There wasn't even there was nothing.
Can you imagine if I was upset about something and you're like, don't worry if we blah, 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 if we think about it this way. And I'm like, stop lecturing me.
Oh my God, it'd be so irritating. But she's talking about meeting her dad like they're in the woods and there's a grizzly bear in front of them. Yeah. Like, just play dead, be calm. Yeah. He'll walk away. Actually, you don't play dead with a grizzly. I learned this.
Oh, yeah?
You just fight. You're going to die.
A grizzly? Is that one?
Oh, no. You do play dead with a grizzly. Sorry. Don't listen to what I just said. You do play dead with a grizzly, but if a grizzly goes and starts messing with you, like starts kind of doing bad things while you're playing dead, you got to fight. Okay. That's the rule.
And then a brown bear.
No, a brown bear is bad. Brown bear is same as a grizzly. A black bear, you act scary and scream and make your hands big and kind of, you can chase it even. It'll run away. And a polar bear, you just say your prayers and that's it.
Yeah.
You go to sleep.
Someone, when we last talked about this, someone was like, and a gummy bear goes in your belly. I liked that a lot.
That was cute.
He says that she lectures him more than he lectures her, and she disagrees with this. I think this is a little complicated because how much are we taking into account the Micah stuff?
Yeah.
But he says that they're both on edge and lightly says, hey, he's the one that has to do the impressing. And she somehow manages to pick a fight about even this. And she's like, but we're a partnership.
Oh, Jesus. So stressful. So much work. Every day is work.
And meanwhile, her dog is like just resting on her lap sleeping. And Andy, you said, I feel like that dog should be way more high strung with her as his owner. Right. Okay, and now the doorbell rings. She seems to panic here. And that's our cliffhanger. So which brings us to episode 7. I mean, this was kind of, for a cliffhanger, this was sort of
a weak cliffhanger.
Yeah, it was a womp womp because her dad.
It was like two people having a picnic at the edge of a cliff.
Chelsea is describing the premise of the show to her dad and reveals they're engaged. And he's like, well, isn't that something? And he's like, I'll be darned. He was very sweet.
Sweet guy.
Now over dinner, they discuss logistics because Kwame lives in Portland.
Yeah.
I want to go to Portland. It's on my hit list.
I should do that.
Andy, you pointed out the inconsistency of the food on their plates during this conversation.
Yeah, it was weird. The one thing I gathered from this whole thing is that Kwame's going to town on that food.
And this wraps with Kwame asking for her dad's blessing. And not only does he say yes, he says absolutely. So this goes to show that Chelsea projected a little anxiety there.
Yeah, a lot.
Because her father was lovely. He didn't have a problem with that.
It was one of the easiest father meetings I've ever seen.
Yeah, and she was even painting him out to be like really disapproving of her past boyfriends. And look, maybe like we don't know.
It was TV, you know.
Yeah, and yeah.
What's he gonna do? Maybe he's the kind of guy who's like, no matter what happens, I'm gonna be nice.
Yeah, but he could have been more like Micah's parents, who were like, oh. Okay, so now it's 17 days until weddings.
Now you can actually see the light in the sky of the meteor.
Oh, yep. Paul and his mom are at a restaurant and Micah arrives. Andy, you said, oh my God, he basically went for his mom.
Yeah.
And even Micah here says, we have matching hair. His mom reveals she did a deep stalking dive on Micah based on her first name alone.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Impressive skills on Google.
Kind of makes me feel uncomfortable sometimes. Basically, Micah charms the pants off his mother and they seem like two peas in a pod. And Micah, in her confessional jokes, you're marrying your mom. So that was very validating for you,
shining
Andy.
moment for Micah.
Well, what's funny is I was like, I don't know if we can say that. You're like, he went for his mom. I'm like, is that, is someone going to be offended by that?
She said it for me.
Yeah. So then I kept it.
Thank you.
Tiffany and Brett now. He's showing her his apartment. She says everything is so high end. She calls him bougie Brett. I love how he's talking about his tension paper towel holder.
Oh, yeah.
Which we also have, by the way. I have to admit, that little arm.
It's great.
It's fantastic.
I love that he points it out too. He appreciates the little things.
Yeah. They discuss closet space, but overall the vibe is very positive. She says
he's got weak closet space.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough for her.
But we've got weak closet space and we've made it work. You don't think so?
Well, I mean, I now have no closet space.
Zach, as he preps to receive Bliss now at his apartment, we see a quick shot of a spinning succulent on top of a rock garden that we both felt did not get nearly enough airtime.
What is that? Like, who said like succulents are great, but they need to be spinning more?
On top of a collection of rocks.
Yeah.
Bliss arrives looking gorgeous, and it definitely has more of a datey vibe than their lunch together. I mean, the two of them, I just love too how Bliss rolls with all of his little like isms.
Yeah.
She doesn't hold them against him. Instead, she usually one-ups him or is like, oh yeah, it's like, or I have this blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
their nerd factor is such a safe space for them to just like spread their wings, their owl wings.
It's a good base. Yeah.
So now they're in Portland. Kwame is showing Chelsea his apartment. It's a little messy, but I don't think anything too crazy.
It's all right. I mean, I don't know if I could do it.
No, you would have a problem with that.
Fastidious.
You are. But if
I need order in the apartment.
Yeah, but if a girl showed you her apartment and she didn't have time to go clean up, right? She was packing in a flurry to go on this show that you met her on, and then she showed you her apartment was as messy as his. I don't think you would be that judgy.
No, I'd be okay. And to be honest, I've had a lot of these situations where, like, for the first time, I'm going to go back to some girl's place. I mean, obviously a while ago, not recently. And she's like, oh, my apartment's super messy. Like, I'm like you gotta be okay with that. And I'm like, oh, please, like, I care how. And 99% of the time, it's like there's like one tissue lying somewhere, and everything else is immaculate. There was one time where, and I'm always like, oh, I don't care. There was one time where I went back to, and it was insane. It was like a full hoarder. Like she was. And it was the same level of like, oh, my place is messy as every other girl who said it. But this was insanity.
Yeah.
It was like I had to walk. There was like a path from the bed to the bathroom. I'm not even kidding. Oof. And like, she's like, I told you my place was messy. And I had to be like, it's totally normal.
So you couldn't see the floor except for the path.
There was no floor anywhere except for a literal path from the bed to the bathroom. And in the bathroom, where were the towels? Wet and on the floor.
That's the worst part.
I don't know how she lived. And if you saw this girl, you'd be like, oh, she's got everything together.
Oh, you never know. You never know.
Never know.
They discuss the city, and she says it's nice and all, but it doesn't make her want to move there. In her confessional, she says it makes most sense for him to move to Seattle because he works remotely. I understand that.
Yeah, sure.
And Kwame, though, in his confessional, says he doesn't have any friends in Seattle. Aww. He plays soccer 4 to 5 times a week here in Portland with his friends.
5.
He sometimes. Something about it being 5 is a lot.
Well, it was funny that he actually said 4 times and then he said sometimes 5, like that makes a difference. Like, oh, well, 5, we're staying in Portland.
He runs on the same path every day. He sometimes compromises too much trying to merge their worlds. I kind of feel for both of them here. You know, this is one of those.
It's tough.
There is really no easy answer to this kind of problem.
I guess technically, like, she has a slight edge because he works remote, so you got to give it to her. But still, there's loss here.
The goal really is to not feel like you're compromising so much by moving. But I mean, it's so obvious they're wrong for each other that I feel silly even entertaining this seriously.
Yeah, but also, look, Kwame's life was soccer. I think there's a lot. I mean, I know I have my theory about Kwame and soccer.
A lot of people really agreed with you on your theory, Andy.
Well,
I think there was it had legs.
It has some legs. Yeah, I didn't expect people to chime in on it, but I really do think that there's a lot that needs to be discussed, not necessarily discussed here, but thought about with his soccer career.
Yeah.
And I think the last vestige of his soccer career is him actually playing recreational soccer. It probably gives him so much joy.
He probably looks forward to it every week.
It's his mate. It's like his wife, essentially, is his soccer. It's a lot of loss there. And I think you can't just say, oh, he's just playing a game. Anyway, you could pick up some soccer game somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's not like that. It's not like a pickup softball game. It's different. It's his life.
Yeah. Okay, so now Jackie and Marshall, everything seems fine. We see tortilla chips being poured into a bowl, but that's pretty much the extent of things being fine. Because now we see Jackie getting very stressed out, as she puts it. We learn that his family's coming. So he's like, oh, I can take my family for a walk around the block. And she's like, no, it's fine. They can, quote, knock it out. And he's like, oh, well, I don't want to just knock it out. Like, I'd rather do it when you're comfortable and in a good headspace. And she's like, she's got her head in her hands and she's like leaning forward. She's like, I am in a good headspace.
It's the best it gets with Jackie.
He says, okay, then I'll go get a Coke and a smile. And she's like, you do that.
Oh, God.
So now Marshall's family arrives despite Jackie's episode, and she brightens up really quickly here.
Sure, yeah.
So she puts on a brave face, which I appreciate. I mean, it does help that his family's absolutely lovely.
Lovely.
It's his sister with her family, like her husband and child. And recapping the experience, Marshall says it was always Jackie or nothing. And she even inspired him to write poetry for the first time in years. I love how sensitive Marshall is.
Yeah, he is really
such
sensitive.
a sweet guy.
Yeah.
Jackie says Marshall has taught her to sit in her feelings and not just react. We were definitely seeing that. So she's showing a little bit of self-awareness. I'm trying to give her credit where credit is due here. So I got to say, though, I was distracted by his sister Morgan's vest. It was so cute.
Oh, yeah,
I want it. It was like rainbow unicorn colors. It was like sort of cotton candy-ish, faux Sherpa and oversized, this vest. Yeah. Seriously, I'm going to look for it. It's good. So cute.
Yeah, you should ask her.
Okay, so Micah and Paul now. He's showing her his apartment. He says his sofas were from Craigslist and from the side of the road. He's got knives seemingly on every single table, which is funny. I got to say his apartment, other than the Craigslist and side of the road thing, because I think you'd be a little too germophobic for that.
Maybe.
His apartment was very you before I got involved.
Yeah, things weren't in good shape.
Hodgepodgey.
Hodgepodge,
Yeah, but not dirty.
No, not dirty. But also so hodgepodge that it seemed dirty.
Yeah, agreed. When they talk logistics, she makes it clear that she would want that apartment to get cut from the equation. She wants to bounce back and forth between Seattle and Arizona. And he says, no. And he says, I'm joking, but also not. Paul is an interesting...
Yeah.
We see this later in the next episode, but he's not afraid to sort of just say what he thinks in the moment. And I like it.
I do.
I like it with Micah specifically, because I kind of think she needs it.
She needs it.
And look, even though her solution might make the most sense, like that, you know, the apartment's not right for the two of them, blah, 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 I think she kind of needs to be kept in line and think about someone other than herself.
I agree.
I know that's
shocking. Sometimes I look at Paul and I don't understand if he's just trying to stay on a show and be on TV.
He doesn't seem like that, though.
He doesn't. I'm so confused by Paul.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're back in Portland. Kwame's had a hard time reaching his mom and finally calls her. This is one of those moments that felt super real because she wasn't even on speaker.
No.
You notice that? We didn't hear a word coming out of her mouth. The only way we even knew she was not happy is we heard him say, "You're mad." He said that. And this was a real like Love is Blind versus Bachelor moment to me, because I feel on The Bachelor, you could never have this shown and not hear the other person.
Of course.
And they would use it and add all this dramatic music and everything. But in this case, it's like his mother wants nothing to do with this show.
What's great about it is it's not staged. There's no narrative here. They're never like, hey, you should call your mom and maybe put her on speaker. Maybe we'll even tell your mom that you're calling her and make sure she says things that are, appropriate to the narrative. Just to call.
And where is she located? We might send a camera guy.
Yeah. Send some like craft services over there.
So the gist here is Kwame's mother does not like this at
shocking.
all. I don't know why people hate on Kwame so much.
I don't get it.
He's like, I appreciate your honesty on the phone. And then he reports back to Chelsea. He says his mom doesn't think he's used his head. And she can't say that she's happy for him. And he says he told his mother that he believes he can make the right decisions for himself. Right. I got to say, this is a peeve of mine. I mean, he's an adult.
Yeah.
Like, let the man make his own decisions, even if it's a mistake. Like, you grow, you live, you learn, all the tropes.
Yeah, but you have to also appreciate her perspective. She's his mother, and she just heard that he got engaged in 2 seconds on a reality show. I also might be a little bit upset.
I think the perfect reaction is Micah's parents, which we'll get to. I think you're right.
Yeah, it's just like skeptical, but warm.
Yes. Like you're
warmly skeptical.
Yeah, you're not making your kid's life more difficult.
Right.
You're just making it clear that you think this is all a little weird, which it is. Tiffany and Brett now, she's cooking in the kitchen and broaches the topic of money. What a fun topic.
Yeah, everyone loves that.
The gist is that he likes nice things and spends money on them. And she was like, give me the number of the most expensive thing you've bought. And he's like, I don't know. And she's like, name a thing. And he's like, okay, well, there's this piece of luggage. And she makes him give her the number, and it's $1,200.
Too much for luggage. It's too much.
I mean, unless you're, I don't know. I don't want to judge what people spend. I don't know what he's making.
If you're a billionaire, it's too much. You don't need to spend that much on luggage. We've discussed luggage. Luggage does not have to be a luxury item. Period. It's functional.
Well, we fall into that camp anyway. But she has a huge reaction to this. And she says she doesn't want to police how he spends money as long as he pays bills.
Sure.
Okay. They talk about not wanting to send Venmo requests to each other, which I totally relate to.
I totally relate to.
We're like that.
Yeah.
I'm like,
none of that.
No. Okay, so now it's 14 days until the weddings. Bliss and Zach are on a boat. They're talking about gremlins and then Furbies and then Digipets and generally
good conversations.
I gotta say, the way they weave from one topic to the next, like they go on tangent to tangent to tangent. It's like a monkey leaping from one branch to another.
Yeah.
It reminds me a little of us.
It does. They're open to all the weirdness.
Yes. He asks if she could meet anybody. Who would it be? She says Oprah. And he was like, for me, it would be your parents. And she rightly calls him out for setting this up.
BS.
She's like, oh, you set that up.
Yeah.
And then he pulls out a jewelry box and gets down on one knee and proposes. And we were like, oh no, it's too soon.
Too soon. Just too soon, yeah. On this show, they've been knowing each other for 20 years.
And Bliss is like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah.
And then that's our cliffhanger. So with episode 8, just as I was literally saying, I don't think she'll say yes. She's too pragmatic. She goes, yeah.
Well, she didn't say yes.
Andy, you said she did the math. She's like, well, this probably doesn't mean anything.
Exactly.
Andy, you said this show devalues getting proposed, getting married, all the things.
Completely devalues it. It sets a very bad precedent. It's basically like, guess what? You can get engaged and it doesn't mean anything. I don't like it. That I don't like. It besmirches the sanctity of proposals. This basically says, by the way, guys, you don't have to get married.
Totally.
You can just get engaged and it means nothing.
Nothing. And in her confessional, Bliss says she always used to scoff at people who would say, when you know, but she gets it now. But I do appreciate how Bliss is not super smiley. She's very matter of fact.
A little almost too matter of fact. If I had one criticism of Bliss, it's that there's not quite enough bliss.
I kind of like it. I like how
It gets old though. That gets old.
I agree.
I've dated girls like that where it's like at some point you're going to let down that wall of like straight faced, but it never goes down. And then you're like, this isn't good.
I know what you mean. I just like how she's almost like watching herself.
Yeah. No, I like Bliss.
Yeah.
I just don't know if I'd want to date Bliss.
Okay. But out of the women on this show, Bliss has got to be near the top of the list.
I probably go, oh, who would I go for?
Yeah.
Should we do that segment now?
Oh my God, let's put it at the end.
Okay. We'll wait. Yeah.
12 days until weddings now. Tiffany and Brett are eating meat and laughing over both liking dark meat like it's some big coincidence.
Yeah, like, wow. We both like breathing air?
Micah and Paul are at a cafe about to meet her parents, and we learn that she hasn't even told them that she's engaged. And her parents sit down, and right away she's like, I'm engaged. And her parents are appropriately shocked.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I did not picture Micah's parents being who they are, and I did not picture Paul's mother being who she is.
Totally agree. Nothing about them in any way, their family, them, the relationship, nothing makes sense to me. Nothing.
But it almost feels like her mother should be Paul's mother,
and
his parents should be her parents.
It's like Alice in Wonderland.
Everything's all topsy-turvy.
Yeah, the looking glass.
And in her parents' confessional, her dad says Paul could be a serial killer for all he knows.
Something I would say.
And her mom worries about her being heartbroken. Overall, we really liked her parents.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
Yeah.
Like a lot more than we actually like Micah.
Totally. Yeah. I don't know how Micah came out of that.
Marshall, in his confessional now, reveals that Jackie told him he needs to, quote, boss up, that, quote, he's not a man, and that he wasn't, quote, doing grown man stuff. So he has been staying at his apartment, and now he goes back to their shared place, and a fight ensues. She says that they never have sex. She wants him to be more aggressive, and this becomes a full-blown yelling match because he's like, I do make an effort to be physical with you. I touch you, I hold you, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
and you rebuff me. He's like, what are you doing for me?
Exactly.
And then Jackie does this thing that drives me crazy. I've dated someone like this before where
we all
she's
have.
like, oh, why are you with me then if I don't do anything for you? So she takes a key part of his sentence and focuses on that and not on what the context was.
It's constant, like low level gaslighting with Jackie. It's like she's a gaslight with the flame is like flickering on and off. It's like low on oil.
Yeah.
Or gas, I guess. Clearly gas.
He says he saw her as a project. Wrong word to use there. No one's denying that.
No, that was a bad move.
And saw potential and thought she was going to come around with him. And unsurprisingly, now she pounces on the word project.
Pounces.
This spins out of control now. And Andy, you likened this conversation to arguments you had with one certain ex.
Yeah.
We both
it's
have
like
experienced this.
Kafkaesque hell. You just, no matter what you do, it's never going in a good place.
No. And it always takes a turn that you don't expect it to.
Yeah. Like when you go with kindness, you get met with scorn. When you go with scorn, you get met with scorn.
Scorn 2.0.
When you just literally get on your knees and beg for forgiveness and say you're the greatest thing that ever happened in the universe, then you eventually slowly get something
met with
good.
kindness. Yeah, and that's literally
Yeah.
what happens here.
Horrible
I
people.
have a big peeve when people hear information or words, just words, and they don't take into account the context. Like all the words said on either side of whatever words that they're upset about. So we saw that happen here multiple times when he's like, what do you do for me? You know, he was talking about how he makes an effort to be physical with her because she just accused him of not wanting to have sex with her. And she's like, oh, if I don't do anything for you. Like she takes this one little part and eliminates all of the context of what he was actually saying. That drives me crazy.
But the undercurrent here is that she doesn't really want to be with him. He's not her type.
Yeah.
So just tell him that.
Yes, you said that last week, actually, Andy.
You know who should be a man in this relationship is her.
Da, 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 da. You actually said that when we did our predictions last week. You said, I don't think this is going to work because at the end of the day, he's a great guy. He's not her type. So as she storms off here, still about the word project, Andy, you were literally saying out loud, leave, dude, leave. You really wanted him to
Horror
walk.
movie. Get out of the house. The killer is calling from inside the house. Get out of the house.
He now tries to save it, unfortunately. He corrects project to mean, quote, limitless potential.
It's like a game show. Well, I'm going to put this one here. Ding!
Well, yeah, he professes his love to her. And now this cues a ballad, a love songy ballad. And then she goes and hugs him and says she's sorry. And Andy, you said wrong song. This should be our horror movie song.
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun.
Okay, so Tiffany and Brett now. Did you just tire yourself out?
Yeah, that was a little too much. Should have breathed in between there. That cooling tropical wind you feel is earth breeze.
I love that, Andy. Nice jingle. I don't know if it really represents what Earth Breeze is.
It doesn't.
But it was a nice melody.
Thank you.
And it mentioned Earth Breeze.
It did.
Which, by the way, is changing lives, I think, one day at a time. Changing the environment one sheet at a time. So Earth Breeze has these laundry detergent eco sheets. I mean, this is tough for people who are just listening and not looking. But suffice to say, it's, what is this? 4 inches by 6 inches or so? And it looks like a piece of paper.
It's like 1 inch bigger than an index card. That's an index card. This is an Earth Breeze sheet.
Yes, and this is detergent. So let's quickly talk stats. Because those big, bulky, heavy jugs of laundry detergent, those are almost all water, by the way. Mm-hmm. So not only are you just shipping that around the country and using up a lot of fuel to do so, 91% of those jugs end up in landfill. So even if you think you're recycling them, like I know whenever I recycle plastic, maybe I'm a bit of a recycling optimist, 91% of those jugs end up in landfill.
So think about that. In your whole life, think about the number of bottles of detergent that you've thrown out. Mm-hmm. And imagine that 9 out of 10 of those are sitting in a landfill somewhere. Just yours.
It makes me feel sick.
Sickening.
Yeah. And that's why we love Earth Breeze, because this has changed the way we do laundry. First of all, the portability is second to none. It dissolves equally well in hot and cold wash. It's safe for sensitive skin, and it works. Like, it's a powerful clean, every bit as powerful as any of the pods or jugs or whatever I've used.
No, you have to do this. If you want to be a good person, you got to do this.
Even the packaging is lightweight, biodegradable, and plastic free.
Yeah. And just in case something ain't right in your head and you don't like this, they have a 100% money back guarantee.
Yes.
So switch from the old-fashioned goo to something new.
Right now, our listeners, the Shandys, can subscribe to EarthBreeze and save a whopping 40%.
Go to earthbreeze.com/Shandy to get started.
That's earthbreeze.com/Shandy for 40% off earthbreeze.com/Shandy. So Andy, I'm on top of the skincare game.
Oh, you sure are.
I like to think. Anyway, I always see what that new thing is. I read the top 10 lists written by dermatologists and things like that. Let me tell you, an ingredient that is always on that list. Not only retinol, but tretinoin. The prescription strength. Literally any dermatologist you talk to will tell you that's the number one thing you can do. And I've been using it since I was like 25.
And how did you get it when you were 25?
Oh, that's a great question, Andy. Because apostrophe did not exist back then. With apostrophe, you just go fill out the online consultation, and then they connect you with a board certified dermatologist who looks at photos of your skin and just reads what you wrote, and they prescribe you something. How nice. Then it gets delivered to your door. Back when I was 25, I would have to go to the doctor. I remember stressing out when my tube was running low, especially when I was a student and my doctor was in Canada. I'd be getting stressed out.
Yeah, there's a lead time. It stresses you out because you're like, I can't just replace this immediately.
Yeah.
There's a process.
There is a process. And so how nice. Apostrophe holds your hand.
And you know what I like about apostrophe too is that it's specific for skin. Like if it was like a service that was like for all medicine, I'd just be a little hesitant.
Yeah.
But it's for skin. That's what they do. They do skin and they do it right.
Yeah. And that's not to say, though, that it's only creams, because they also have oral medication. And I mean, when it comes to acne, they have medication for all sorts, not just your face. So it could be chest knee, back knee, butt knee, which we've talked about before. But I just love how they're really, like you said, they're taking into account skin. That's what they focus on. That's their specialty.
So we have a very special deal for our audience, the Shandys.
Get your first visit with an apostrophe provider for only $5 when you go to apostrophe.com and enter promo code Shandy at sign up. That is a savings of $15, and this offer is only available to our listeners.
To get started, just go to apostrophe.com/Shandy and click Get Started.
Then use our promo code Shandy at sign up and you'll get your first visit for only $5. And we thank Apostrophe for sponsoring the podcast. Tiffany and Brett now, this is basically them having a loving and mature conversation about their wedding and how much they love each other. And this culminates with Brett giving Tiffany a long, knowing look and saying, "We're going to make it."
Almost, you know what? I felt a tear forming in my tear duct.
Oh.
It was forming.
Andy, you said he's the best, Jackie's the worst. But that's because we had yet to meet Micah's friends.
Oh, dear.
First, Bliss and Zach move in together. She says they can't put the suitcases on the bed. We agree with this. Suitcases are disgusting.
I don't even put the suitcases in the apartment until I've sanitized
Andy
the wheels.
sprays
But I am
down
crazy.
the wheels in the hallway before they're allowed to enter the apartment.
I stand by it.
You're extreme.
Stand by it.
This conversation now, while they eat takeout, is very strange to me because you would think this would be lovey-dovey. Like, we're finally moved in together. We're sharing our first takeout meal together. We're newly engaged.
Yeah, whatever.
And she kind of starts to pick a fight again about being second choice and sort of being like, I still have to get over that. I really like Bliss. I want to get that out of the way. But I feel like Bliss, a lot of her focusing so much on that is almost like she wants to feel like she's representing herself properly on the show. It feels more removed than her actual feelings. Does that make sense? I don't think she thinks that he wants to be with Irina. I don't think that she actually thinks that she's second choice.
She wants everyone in America to know that she recognizes that this is an issue.
Yes, exactly. It feels like she wants everyone to be like, she's a strong woman who didn't just let him off the hook.
Yeah. I feel the same way with what Micah did to Irina. That was totally just show.
Oh,
I was like, look, I'm not going to deal with this. Look at me. I'm a strong woman.
So that's just weirdly tense. I wrote, where did the chemistry go? Okay, so now we're back to Kwame and Chelsea. I gotta say, as much as I cannot stand these two together, they're my favorite two to
I agree.
dissect.
They're the most entertaining.
Yeah,
in a way.
In like a sick voyeur kind of way.
I mean, the fact of the matter is all these couples are terrible except for Brett and Tiffany. I mean, let's get it out there.
Yes. So they're bathing her dog, Rocky, and she pushes a conversation.
He has such a cute little penis. Did you see it? I mean, it was obvious. It was a big, I mean, for him, like he's like got a tree trunk.
Yeah.
But it's so cute.
Yeah.
It's so funny when little dogs that are so cute and like harmless just have these giant penises. It's pretty funny.
She pushes a conversation about kids and pretty much says she wants kids yesterday. He says he wants to enjoy the partnership for a while.
Reasonable.
She's like, but you can strap the baby on. You can take them on trips. You can hire a nanny. And he's like, but I want to like spend a few years just enjoying each other, enjoying the relationship. And she sort of accusatorily asks, are you even ready to settle down?
Well, now he's getting really turned on by this conversation.
As though him not wanting to have kids as soon as possible when they get married means he's not ready to settle down. Yeah.
He's not ready. He wants to be single for the rest of his life till he's dead.
And then he says, I'm moving to Seattle. And instead of being like, you're right, you are sacrificing something, she's like, you mean you're sacrificing what you want? And he says, I'm compromising. And she says, I mean, this is real Chelsea gold. She says, welcome to marriage.
Yeah. Oh. All right, let's make love, baby. I can't take it anymore. My pants are ripping. Like, really? Is that how you do it? Is that how she does it?
Yeah.
That's how it's done?
Yeah, that's really going to work for her in life. He says,
I don't even want to. I can't. Let's not. We've made our point. Let's move on.
He says it's a big compromise and just asks that his feelings are also considered. Honestly, feels like she just wants a husband and it doesn't matter who's filling that role.
He's starting to feel like a vessel.
Yes.
I can see it. He's, in those cartoons where they're like on a desert island and the guy turns into a hot dog and the other person turns into a hamburger.
Yeah.
I literally feel like he's turning into like a pitcher of, I don't know what's
sperm.
Yeah. Sperm vial. Oh, that's good.
So he says, it is a big compromise. I'm just asking that my feelings are considered. And then without making eye contact, she's like, considered.
Ugh. She's good at passive aggression. You know what? She's bad at passive aggression. But you have to do passive aggression artfully. And she says it's just a hammer. It's just like...
Okay,
who is Kwame? I want to know. Let's take a quick poll of our Shandys, and it's okay. We love you all, no matter what you say. We love every Shandy. You're all great.
Yeah.
But how many of you still think Kwame's the bad guy in this situation? I want to know. I really need to know this because maybe I'm the weird guy.
I feel we were a little misled. After our first recap, we got so many comments being like, I can't believe you like Kwame.
You're going to change your tune.
Well, there are still more episodes to come.
Tune.
Maybe he will prove us wrong again. You know what? I can't wait.
I can't wait to be proven wrong. Yeah. I want to be proven wrong. But as of yet, for a moment, I was like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
At the pool, I was like, Kwame's going to sing himself.
Yeah.
This is it. And it wasn't good.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good look. But then I was like, he was wasted and it wasn't great, but he totally recovered from it.
Yes. I just think that there's a lot more nuance to the Kwame situation. I do not think he's a bad guy.
I don't think he's remotely a bad guy.
Yeah. So speaking of unlikable people, Micah and Paul now attend her friend's birthday party.
Yay. I love birthday parties. They're always fun, right?
Her friends interrogate Paul and it's honestly, I wrote, embarrassing. They ask him a question. I think it was about, when you finally met her, did it match what you had in your mind? And he answers in a very detail-oriented and not even long-winded. I wrote long-winded, but it wasn't. It's like it was like the preamble to his answer.
Yeah.
And they are already starting to roll their eyes.
He said words.
He said
they weren't sandwiched within 10 likes.
Yeah.
And he's now suddenly like a super pretentious pseudo-intellectual.
Yeah. Mike is like, oh, he's a scientist. And they're like,
He's a scientist, but he speaks in complete sentences?
I wrote, these women would hate our podcast.
Hate it. Thank God. I hope to God. And if you are watching Friends of Micah, stop. We don't want you.
Shelby says she'll have something bitchy to say at some point. Oh, also earlier, Mike reveals that many of her relationships have ended because of Shelby. I just want to put a pin in that. And she says, don't say that kind of stuff to me. I'll get pissed. I don't know if this was weird editing or what, but based on what was shown, that would suggest that him using words that aren't like... and maybe building a structured answer and not just being like, she exceeded all my expectations. That's it.
It's committing the crime of speaking English.
Yeah.
Literally.
And trying to express exactly how he feels instead of pandering.
Yes.
There's a big difference. I hate it. I hate being pandered to. And I would rather hear what I don't want to hear, but feel like you're expressing yourself
100%.
properly. Oh my God. God, this show gets me worked up. This gets me more worked up than The Bachelor.
But it feels more real. Like these are kind of more real, less narrative situations.
Yeah, but it gets me like angry.
I know. I'm angry. This scene, I was losing it.
Micah says about Shelby that she's easily angered. And then Paul, winning all the prizes, shrugs and says, I can't say that I care. Oh, I mean, it's one of those. We love that he said this.
Thank God.
Micah goes into defending friend mode and it's like, don't say that. You should care what she thinks.
No.
And he's like, well, I care about you. I care about what you think.
Yes.
And it kind of ends awkwardly here with Shelby glaring at him, basically. He says he's going to go to the bathroom. And now we see Shelby show just how drunk she is. We thought she was drunk.
I'd like to give Shelby the benefit of the doubt because she is wasted. She's like puking wasted.
Andy, you said no respect for intelligence, no curiosity, no self-awareness, automatically judging someone because they're smarter than you.
Ugh.
That's what was happening here.
Horrible.
Paul is obviously intelligent and they treat him with disdain instead of being like, oh, you're a scientist? That's cool.
Yeah, why don't you ask questions?
Yes. Ask questions that aren't pertaining to Micah and how like amazingly wonderful she is. And then when he doesn't give you this pandering basic answer to that question, he's therefore annoying to you.
Again, if I was in this situation, relationship's over instantly. Done. Out the door.
Honestly,
I don't care.
If my friends treated you like this, I wouldn't blame you.
If you didn't defend me in that situation, I'm out the door. Period. Not you. With you, I'd do anything. If your friends sucked, I'd still be with you. You're great. But I'm just saying, in most situations, I'm out the door.
Friends really say so much about a person.
Of course, the apple doesn't. I mean, it's not the same thing.
The apples that are on the ground stay together.
Yeah. Got it. Nailed it.
Micah and Shelby talk now, and Shelby says this isn't for Micah, and Micah deserves more. More, she says. She deserves the best. She deserves the world. And I wrote, I don't think this girl actually is Micah's friend.
No, she wants the worst for Micah. She doesn't want Micah to be happy.
Friendships like this exist, where it's all under the guise of being really protective. Did we actually hear her ask why Micah loves Paul?
No, doesn't care.
Yeah, instead because Paul rubbed her wrong and didn't really care about her. She's one of those friends that doesn't want her friends to be happier than her.
Exactly. She wants Shelby to be happy. And you know what Shelby is? Shelby's the epitome. I love how of course Micah has a best friend that she loves who's terrible. But Shelby is the worst kind of friend.
Yeah.
She's, first of all, a supreme top flight cock blocker. The worst of the worst.
Top flight.
Yeah. She's like in the full, she's like gold. She's like on the platform. What do you call it? The pedestal? The metal? She's metaled in cock blocking.
Yeah.
But she doesn't rejoice. Podium, thank you. God, my words. She doesn't rejoice in friends' happiness. She relishes misery so she can help and be the savior. Mm-hmm. Always watch out for friends who don't rejoice in your happiness.
Yeah.
Because a sign of a good friend is someone who is happy when you're happy, not someone who is there to help when you're down. Which that's also a decent friend, but it doesn't mean they're a great friend. She wants her to be down. She wants to be her master. She wants to subjugate her.
Well, and it says so much now, to go back to that pin. They joked about this. They said it all lightly, but that several of Micah's relationships have ended because Shelby said that it wasn't.
She's a serial killer. Several of this woman's husbands have disappeared. Where did they go?
Okay. We have to take a deep breath. Let's take a cleansing breath together. Okay. And we'll have our Shandies join us, okay?
Okay.
Inhale. And hold. And exhale. Okay, I feel ready to move on.
I will say this, I've seen a lot of not great people over the years of recapping these shows.
Yeah.
But I've never outright just said someone's terrible. I've always felt there's some redeeming quality to everyone. And even Micah. Micah has redeeming qualities.
Yes. Even Irina. I mean, Irina's a perfect example.
Perfect example. Yeah. Shelby is terrible. Period. And you know what's great? Like Shelby's like in life, like you meet someone like Shelby and you like go to one friend and you're like, oh my God, you see how terrible she was? Like, oh no, the thing she did with them. They're like, and you only have one friend. I have like a stadium of people. It's so satisfying. There's a stadium. I'm like, and when she did the thing where she said the thing that was really horrible.
I mean, I assume people have to see this the way we did. I mean, they weren't trying to make her look good.
Oh, no.
Well, not that would have been possible.
Oh,
Okay.
God.
So 10 days
Terrible.
until weddings. I love that we took a deep cleansing breath to move on and we still couldn't stop talking
Can't
about
stop
her.
this thing.
So now it's Chelsea's birthday and also a group gathering. And by group gathering, it seems to be not only an excuse to bring all the couples together so that there
It's a
can be-
reject reunion.
It's a reject reunion. We see Josh paraded out. At one point, Amber is paraded out. Okay, so when Marshall arrives alone, Micah says, "Oh my God, where the hell is Jackie?" And she's fully smiling and then corrects.
She loves it.
We see a few conversations here. Tiffany gives decent advice to Kwame. Marshall tells Brett that Jackie wants a toxic kind of love.
Mm-hmm.
This is so well put. I just love that Tiffany and Brett have also fallen into the role of people who give like actually decent advice.
They're basically a relationship podcast at this point on the show.
Yeah, should keep an eye on them. But I really appreciate how both Tiffany and Brett, this subtext of their advice given to each of these people was, you don't need this. Like, think about what you want. Like, you don't need to go through this. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't just like, this is just how it is. You can get through it.
Yeah. No, that's what Chelsea said.
It is what Chelsea said. Jackie arrives and goes and greets Marshall. And she's wearing, I'm talking about what she's wearing because I think it's relevant here. She's wearing a sleeveless, like spaghetti strap jumpsuit.
Yeah.
She looks beautiful. And then there's a weird exchange where Marshall insists on giving her his coat. And I'm torn on this because if it's actually cold, then this is gentlemanly.
Right.
But she kept insisting she was fine. And we got to note that Paul was wearing a t-shirt.
Yeah. I don't think it was that cold.
I don't know.
It felt like it's possible he didn't want her to be showing so much skin, which is a real foul.
If
in
that's
both
what
of
it
our
is, but
books.
I want, because I love Marshall so much, I'm going to assume it was really cold and he was just being
Me
really
too.
gentlemanly.
I'm going to try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Josh now descends on the ladies where Jackie is. He's really obnoxious. He's definitely sort of circling
I
Jackie.
feel like they primed him with drinks. Like I think he got there drunk.
I agree.
Yeah, it was a rough scene.
I mean, I don't think I heard one sentence come out of his mouth where the speech was not slurred.
yeah.
Kwame now talks to Micah, and we were watching this like hawks. Kwame admits that a small part of him freaks out when he thinks about the wedding, and he asks Micah if she thinks she made the right choice. She says she's unsure but hopeful. See, even that, to other people, Micah has expressed being more sure than that.
Yeah, but to
she's,
him.
Yes, she's tempering her answer to suit him.
Yep.
The vibe gets a little bit flirty here, and in his confessional, Kwame admits it's seamless. He says, I love Chelsea, I want to marry Chelsea, but I have to admit, when I talk to Micah, it's seamless. And she gets increasingly flirty here, once again saying he was her number one. There's still electricity there with him. They have so much potential. She says present tense, we have so much potential. She didn't say had.
No.
I have to point this out. She cares about him. She thinks about him. She worries about him.
A lot of instigating.
I'm not. First of all, nothing went too far here. Not that we saw anyway. There's still time, I suppose. But I just really think Micah, I've called her trouble. She's trouble.
Yeah.
She likes the attention.
She knows that Kwame holds a torch for her, and she's just milking it.
Oh, yeah. So now Amber and friends arrive. This is pointless. Paul's just like, I'm good. And now Josh targets Jackie. He tells her that Marshall was crying all the time during the pods and didn't think Jackie would have fallen for his shit. This was really painful to watch.
Yeah,
I don't
bad.
like, we've talked about the alcohol. I don't like watching people this drunk. It makes me uncomfortable.
He should have been cut off. You can't have people on TV that drunk.
No.
It's easy. It's, you know what it is? It's cheap.
It is cheap.
It's cheap. Like, yeah, sure. Get a bunch of people totally wasted and show them on camera. Like, great. Of course, there's going to be stuff that's entertaining.
Yeah.
But it's not right.
It's almost cheaper than the bouquet from the pods.
Nothing's cheaper than the bouquet.
This is pretty much the cliffhanger. He's telling Jackie, like, I still love you, blah,
What
blah,
is he
blah.
saying? He's like,
And that's where the episode ends. All right, so Andy, let's quickly touch on our predictions. First, Brett and Tiffany.
all the way.
All the way.
Kids dying, buried next to each other. I mean, not like quickly in that order, just eventually.
It sounded like you were saying their kids would die and be buried next to each other.
Cut. Take two.
We knew what you meant. Okay, next, Paul and Micah.
Splits.
I agree. I just don't see it. You know what I feel this show is sort of missing at times is showing enough of the good times.
Yeah.
Because I don't understand why Paul and Micah are as into each other as they are, other than that one scene where they were playing footsies on their balcony. That was the one moment where I was like, oh, that's kind of cute. But other than that, I'm like, I don't get it. Kwame and Chelsea.
So I'm going to stand by my original theory that he's trying to keep his soccer adrenaline alive, and he's going to keep this TV thing going. And I think he's just going to get married to her, and he's going to do it out of pure desire to stay in the spotlight. And I don't think it's going to work for more than 6 months tops. They're going to get divorced.
I'm going to disagree with you because I really just don't want to see that. Yeah. So I predict that someone says no. And Jackie and Marshall, that has to be splits. Done. No way. I'll be shocked if they even make it to the altar, honestly. I think they should end before that point.
Absolutely.
And then finally, I think the new wild card. Last week we thought Jackie and Marshall were the wild card, but now I think the wild card is Zach and Bliss.
I agree.
It's hard to believe. I mean, they just didn't have that extra time together in Mexico. I just don't think they know each other well enough.
I'm like 55-45, they get married.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, barely. Like I'm very close to the fence on this one.
There was a moment where she was talking, I think, to Chelsea at the party. She was talking to one of the women and she's like, I'm freaked out. I don't know what's going on. And in that moment, I was like, It's easy to get swept up. You know, when a guy's proposing to you on a boat, you're like, yes. Yeah. Or yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's add a segment, who we would go for.
I'm going for Bliss.
Oh, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Thank you.
I don't think this is any surprise. I would go for Brett.
I would go for Brett. As a matter of fact, I might go for Brett over Bliss.
Okay. As like the easiest who we would go for ever. So anticlimactic. Oh, I have one other thing I want to say, and that is to implore our Shandies, because as the show is wrapping, the ending will become public knowledge, and and maybe this is really just us asking for too much. Yeah, but please try not to spoil us with your comments, especially comments. You can, I don't know, just don't DM us what happens because it just makes it really hard to recap and it's just not as fun for us.
Agreed.
Yeah, that would be nice. If you enjoyed what you heard today, you know what we will ask of you, and that is to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, follow us on Instagram and
TikTok.
Leave us Apple and
Spotify
podcast ratings and reviews. Tell your friends and generally do all the things you would do to support a podcast you enjoy. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Dear Shandy. Bye-bye. Dear Shandy.